In this video, I am going to be talking about attribution, attitudes, conformity, and prejudice. Our social behavior arises from our social thinking, especially when the unexpected occurs. We want to understand and explain why people act as they do. Attribution theory is the theory that we explain someone's behavior by crediting either the situation or the person's character. But sometimes we overestimate the influence of the personality and underestimate the influence of situation, which is known as fundamental attribution theory. For example, in school, we may notice that one of our classmates is very shy in class. However, we catch them as the lead in the high school musical and hardly recognize them. We are using fundamental attribution theory by overestimating their personality and underestimating the situation. An attitude is a feeling often influenced by our beliefs that predisposes to respond in a particular way to objects, people, and events. If we believe someone is threatening us, we may feel anger towards them and act defensively. Our attitudes affect our actions, and our actions affect our attitude. There are two ways that people can influence our attitudes into believing another thing. The two persuasions are peripheral route persuasion and central route persuasion. Peripheral route persuasion occurs when people are influenced by incidental cues, such as a speaker's attractiveness. Central route persuasion occurs when interested people focus on the arguments and respond with favorable thoughts. Norms are understood rules for accepted and expected behavior. Some norms at high school are wearing the uniform properly and acting maturely. Adjusting our behavior or thinking to coincide with a group standard is known as conformity. An example of conformity is when a person listens to the same music as their friend, even though they may not really like it. We conform to avoid rejection or to gain approval from people. The influence resulting from a person's desire to gain approval or avoid disapproval is known as normative social influence. An example of the social influence can be if you were to applaud to a performance even though you may not have liked it. The influence resulting from one's willingness to accept others' opinions about reality is known as informational social influence. An example of this social influence can be when you're taking a math partner test and you go along with your partner's way of doing the problem because their way makes more sense than yours.
Why are you talking to Janice Ian?
I don't know. I mean, she's so weird. She just, came up to me and started talking to me about crack.
She's so pathetic. Let me tell you something about Janice Ian.
Prejudice is an unjustifiable and usually negative attitude toward a group and its members. It also means prejudgment, and it generally involves negative emotions such as hostility or fear, stereotypes, which is a generalized belief about a group or a person, and a predisposition to discriminate, which is an unjustifiable negative behavior toward a group and its members. An example of prejudice can be when another person feels inferior to another ethnicity, and discrimination can be when someone rejects a person as a job candidate. We define our social identity partly in terms of our groups. During a group project, we usually tend to favor our group, which is known as in-group bias, and tend to discriminate those outside of our group, which is known as out-group. Basically, in-group is us, which are people with whom we share a common identity, and out-group is them, those perceived as different or apart from our in-group.
When you're not around, when you throw that
out of the car.
Yo, Star, you okay?
Go back where he told you. Khalil, I'm not playing. Go back where... What did you do?
In this video, we have learned fundamental attribution theory, how our attitudes affect our actions, peripheral and central route persuasion, how we conform to a group, and prejudice, stereotypes, and discrimination.